Alright, so today on this VFR build, I need to button some stuff up. We started yesterday buttoning up the front end, torquing things down. I need to continue that. I need to torque down stuff on the rear, suspension, start getting some of these lines and stuff done. I've got cables just hanging out. I need to get those where there's gonna be coolant lines right here that need to be tightened up and connected and everything. I also think we should check the rake. Take a look at this with our new front end on it and try and check out the rake and the trail on it and sort of see where that's at. And so in order to do that, I need to make sure the bike is sort of level. It's on the center kickstand right now, but I need to get it level on the center kickstand, and then which means putting some blocks and stuff underneath the wheels to make sure that those are both at the same height. All right, after some scouting, I've got everything spaced. Each wheel has got a couple pieces of material underneath it, standardized, and so I know that I've got about 7/16 under both wheels, and that levels the bike out. To check the rake on this thing or find the rake on it, I've got a little angle finder here. I stick that guy on. Ideally, I'm sticking it right on the steering tube itself, but this is a close representation of that. And we get 65 degrees on there. So we take 90 minus 65, that equals 25. And this is supposed to be 25 and a half, the VFR, and this is just not precise enough of an instrument to tell me that. So it could be a half in there somewhere, I just can't see it. I do have a digital angle finder, one of these guys here, but the batteries are dead on it, and I don't have more batteries at the moment. The problem with these triple clamps was that they had a different offset. All right, so the offset on the VFR originally was 40 millimeters. So which means that these tubes are 40 millimeters out in front of the actual steering stem, which is back in here. Whereas now, because we've got the CBR triple clamps on there, the CBR ones are not as far out. They're closer in. These are only 30 millimeters out. Really what's important here is trying to get the bike back to the original trail as much as possible. That's what's going to give the bike its riding characteristics. We want to try and do our best to get it as close as possible to that trail. The rake is just a factor in providing the trail, in a sense. The rake gets us to the trail, and the trail is what's important here. Yeah, and the original VFR trail is 100 millimeters. All right, so to measure trail, I'm gonna need to set up some sort of plumb bob situation, because I need to find the center patch of this tire where it contacts the ground, which should be right around there. But if I drop a plumb bob from the axle down, that should visually represent it. And then we need an imaginary line that basically runs, if you can imagine the steering stem coming down, and then where that angles down and hits the ground, that is our other measurement point. And so we're going to be measuring from where the plumb bob hits the ground to that point where the steering stem, the virtual steering stem, hits the ground. And so the distance between those two, that is our trail. And that's what we're trying to find. And the way I like to do that, I've got this little laser thing that projects out a beam that I can sort of, in theory, have a nice straight beam going down from, that represents that steering stem. But I'm out of batteries on this thing as well. I have a dearth of AAA batteries around here, so can't get that done either at the moment. We'll come back to this tomorrow, and then I'm gonna spend some time just sort of buttoning things up around here. All right, I've taken the rear wheel off so I can get to this rear brake caliper, because I was gonna try and add some fluid to this. I actually need to run to the store to get that too, because it's DOT4 brake fluid, which I don't have. But I'm looking at this caliper going, man, because the bleed valve is on here somewhere in order to bleed this thing out. And I'm going, wow, this is going to be a pain to get to that bleed valve. So I look at the service manual, and it says to take the caliper off and like place it up here, because it is such a pain to actually get to. Because yeah, there's our bleed valve right here. And this thing is like behind. I mean, it's the worst place to try and reach anything. So it says in the manual to basically do this. Swap this thing around so the bleed valve's up near the top. So I got my little brake bleeding stuff set up here, ready to go. I just need to go get some brake fluid and some batteries, and then maybe tomorrow we can get some more stuff done. But yeah, for today, that's pretty much all I'm gonna do for this video, and then I may work on this stuff off camera. We're kind of in this phase of this stuff that's not all that exciting. I basically just need to torque things, rerun wires and tubes and make sure that everything's in the right place and tighten everything up on the bike.